The vast emptiness of space stretched out before Dr. Elara Chen as she gazed through the reinforced glass of Outpost Zeta 9. The small research station orbited a distant gas giant in a system far from Earth, its isolation both a blessing and a curse. Elara had volunteered for this assignment, driven by a thirst for discovery and a desire to push the boundaries of human knowledge. But after months of routine data collection and analysis, even the most dedicated scientist could feel the weight of loneliness. Elara sighed, her breath fogging the glass slightly. She turned away from the window and made her way through the cramped corridors of the outpost. The hum of life support systems and the occasional beep of monitoring equipment were her constant companions. As the station's sole occupant and resident physician, she had grown accustomed to the silence, but there were moments when she yearned for the bustle of a busy hospital back on Earth. As she entered the small medical bay, Elara's eyes fell on the array of equipment she had meticulously maintained. Despite the outpost's primary function as a deep space research facility, she had insisted on a fully stocked medical suite. "You never know what might happen out here," she had argued during the mission briefing. Her superiors had reluctantly agreed, and now Elara found comfort in the familiar sight of diagnostic tools and emergency supplies. She was halfway through her routine inventory when a shrill alarm cut through the station's silence. Elara's heart raced as she rushed to the command center, her mind cycling through possible emergencies. As she reached the main console, her eyes widened at the flashing alert on the screen. "Unidentified object on collision course," the computer announced in its calm, synthetic voice. "Impact imminent." Elara's fingers flew across the holographic interface, bringing up sensor data and trajectory projections. The object was small, barely large enough to register on the outpost's long-range scanners, but its speed was alarming, and its path would bring it dangerously close to the station. "Computer, initiate emergency protocols," Elara commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Reinforce shields and prepare for potential impact." As the station's systems whirred to life, strengthening its defenses, Elara watched the approaching object with a mixture of fear and fascination. Years of scientific training battled with her survival instincts. Part of her wanted to retreat to the station's most secure area, while another part burned with curiosity about what was hurtling towards her. The object streaked past the station, missing it by mere kilometers. The outpost shuddered from the gravitational disturbance, and Elara gripped the console to keep her balance. As quickly as it had appeared, the mysterious projectile was gone, continuing its journey into the depths of space. Elara let out a shaky breath, relief flooding through her. But her respite was short-lived as a new alert flashed on the screen. "Object has entered planetary orbit," the computer informed her. "Calculating trajectory, impact on Moon's surface imminent." Without hesitation, Elara sprang into action. "Computer, prepare the emergency shuttle for immediate launch. I need to investigate the impact site." As she donned her spacesuit and gathered emergency supplies, Elara's mind raced with possibilities. The object's speed and trajectory suggested it wasn't a natural phenomenon. Could it be a probe from Earth? An unknown alien artifact? The scientist in her thrilled at the prospect of discovery, while the physician prepared for any potential dangers. The shuttle detached from the outpost with a soft thud, and Elara guided it towards the Moon's surface. As she neared the calculated impact site, she gasped at the sight before her. A deep furrow had been carved into the Moon's dusty surface, ending in a smoking crater. And there, half buried in the debris, was something that made Elara's heart skip a beat. It was a spacecraft, but unlike anything humans had ever designed. Its sleek, organic lines spoke of an advanced technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. And it was clearly damaged, with sections of its hull torn away to reveal pulsing, bioluminescent interior. Elara set the shuttle down a safe distance from the crash site and double-checked her suit's integrity. With a deep breath, she stepped out onto the Moon's surface, the low gravity making her movements feel surreal. As she approached the alien craft, Her helmet lights illuminated more details of the wreckage. A movement caught her eye, and Ilara froze. There, emerging from a jagged opening in the ship's side, was a figure. It was roughly humanoid in shape, but its proportions were all wrong. Long, multi-jointed limbs moved with an unsettling fluidity, and its head was elongated and eyeless. The alien's skin shimmered with patterns of light that pulsed erratically. Ilara's scientific curiosity warred with her instinct for self-preservation. The alien was clearly injured, its movements unsteady and pained. As a doctor, every fiber of her being screamed to help, but the rational part of her mind warned of the unknown dangers. The alien stumbled, collapsing onto the moon's dusty surface. A sound like nothing Ilara had ever heard before echoed through her suit's comm system, a keening wail that spoke of agony beyond words. In that moment, Ilara made her decision. Alien or not, this was a being in pain, and she had sworn an oath to help those in need. Cautiously, she approached the fallen creature. Up close, she could see the extent of its injuries. What she assumed was blood oozed from multiple lacerations, glowing faintly in the darkness. The alien's bioluminescent patterns flickered weakly, reminding Ilara of a faltering heartbeat on a hospital monitor. "I'm here to help," Ilara said, knowing the alien couldn't understand her words, but hoping her tone would convey her intentions. She reached out slowly, her gloved hand hovering over the alien's trembling form. The creature's head turned towards her, and though it had no eyes that she could discern, Ilara felt the weight of its gaze. For a moment, neither moved. Then, with agonizing slowness, the alien extended one of its limbs towards her. The gesture was unmistakable, a plea for help. Ilara gently grasped the offered limb, marveling at the strange texture of the alien's skin. "I've got you," she murmured, her doctor's instincts kicking into high gear. "Let's get you somewhere I can treat you properly." With great care, Ilara helped the alien to its feet, or what she assumed were its feet. The creature was surprisingly light in the moon's low gravity, but its odd proportions made movement awkward. Together, they made their way back to Ilara's shuttle, leaving a trail of luminescent droplets in their wake. As they neared the shuttle, a new problem presented itself. The craft's airlock was designed for human proportions, not the alien's lanky frame. Ilara's mind raced, calculating angles and possibilities. She couldn't risk exposing the alien to the shuttle's atmosphere without knowing if it was compatible. "I'm sorry," she said to the alien, "but this might be uncomfortable." With gentle pressure, she guided the creature to curl its limbs inward, compressing its body as much as possible. The alien shuddered but complied, seeming to understand the necessity. It was a tight fit, but they managed to squeeze into the airlock together. Ilara's heart pounded as the outer doors sealed and the decontamination cycle began. She watched the alien closely, ready to abort if it showed any signs of distress from the process. To her relief, the alien remained stable as they entered the shuttle's main cabin. Ilara quickly cleared a space, creating a makeshift examination area. As she helped the alien onto the floor, her mind whirled with the challenges ahead. How could she treat a being whose biology she knew nothing about? The alien sprawled on the shuttle floor, its limbs arranged in a way that looked painful to human eyes. Its luminescent patterns had grown even fainter, and Ilara knew she had to act fast. She pulled out her medical scanner, a sophisticated piece of equipment designed to analyze human physiology. She could only hope it would provide some useful data on her alien patient. As the scanner hummed to life, Ilara spoke in soothing tones. "I'm going to do everything I can to help you," she promised. "Just hang in there." The scanner beeped, and Ilara's eyes widened as she read the results. The alien's internal structure was like nothing she had ever seen, a complex network of organs and systems that defied easy categorization. But amid the alienness, there were patterns she recognized: circulatory systems, neural pathways, structures that seemed analogous to vital organs. Most critically, the scan revealed severe internal injuries. What Elara had initially taken for blood was actually a kind of bioluminescent fluid that seemed to serve multiple functions in the alien's body, and it was losing that fluid at an alarming rate. Elara's mind raced, drawing on years of medical training and emergency triage experience. She couldn't use standard sutures or synthetic skin on the alien's strange flesh. Traditional blood transfusions were out of the question, but perhaps an idea struck her, born of desperate creativity. The alien's bioluminescent fluids seemed to have regenerative properties. If she could find a way to recycle and reintroduce it into the alien's system, it might buy her enough time to address the underlying injuries. "I have a crazy idea," Elara told her patient, knowing it couldn't understand, but drawing comfort from the act of explanation. "And I really hope it works." With swift, precise movements, Elara jury-rigged a filtration system using components from her medical kit and the shuttle's own hardware. She created a crude but functional pump that could draw the leaking fluid from the alien's wounds, filter out contaminants, and reintroduce it into what she hoped was the correct input in the alien's circulatory system. As she worked, Elara marveled at the situation. Here she was, millions of miles from Earth, attempting to save the life of a being from another world. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. Every decision could mean the difference between life and death for this extraordinary creature. With the makeshift system in place, Elara activated the pump. She held her breath as the alien's fluorescent fluids began to circulate through the tubes. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly but surely, the alien's bioluminescent patterns began to pulse more strongly. Elara allowed herself a small smile of triumph. It wasn't a cure, but it was a start. With the immediate crisis of fluid loss addressed, she could turn her attention to the alien's other injuries. Using her scanner and no small amount of educated guesswork, she began to piece together an understanding of the creature's anatomy. Hours passed in a blur of intense concentration. Elara used every tool at her disposal, improvising treatments and adapting human medical techniques to suit her alien patient. She sealed wounds with a biocompatible adhesive, realigned what she assumed were broken bones, and administered carefully calculated doses of broad-spectrum antibiotics and pain relievers. Throughout it all, the alien remained surprisingly calm. Whether it was due to trust, shock, or simply a different way of processing pain, Elara couldn't say. But she drew strength from its quiet endurance, pushing through her own exhaustion to continue her work. As Elara finished treating the last of the visible injuries, she sat back, her muscles aching from the prolonged, delicate work. She studied her patient, noting with relief that its bioluminescent patterns had stabilized into a steady, pulsing rhythm. "I've done all I can for now," Elara said softly. "The rest is up to you." To her astonishment, the alien moved. Slowly, deliberately, it extended one of its limbs towards her. The tip of the limb began to glow more brightly, and as Elara watched in fascination, the light coalesced into a small, shimmering sphere. Instinctively, Elara cupped her hands, and the alien gently deposited the glowing orb into her palms. The moment it touched her suit's gloves, Elara felt a tingling sensation that seemed to bypass the physical barrier. Images and feelings flooded her mind: gratitude, relief, and a profound sense of connection. Elara gasped, realizing that this was the alien's way of communicating, of saying thank you. Tears pricked her eyes as the enormity of the moment washed over her. She had not only made first contact with an alien species, but had formed a bond through the universal act of compassion. As the alien's consciousness brushed against hers, Elara caught glimpses of its world, a distant planet of bioluminescent forests and soaring crystal spires. She saw flashes of an advanced civilization and sensed the alien's purpose, an explorer, like herself, driven by the desire to understand the universe. The connection faded, leaving Elara breathless with wonder. She looked at the alien with new eyes, seeing not just a patient but a kindred spirit. "You're welcome," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm honored to meet you." The alien's luminescent patterns shifted in what Elara interpreted as acknowledgement. She knew then that her life would never be the same. The universe had just become infinitely larger and more wondrous. As the adrenaline of the emergency faded, exhaustion swept over Elara. But even as her eyelids grew heavy, her mind buzzed with questions and possibilities. What would happen when she reported this encounter to Earth? How would humanity react to the proof of intelligent alien life? And what adventures lay ahead as she and her alien patient recovered together on this remote outpost? Elara settled into the pilot's seat, keeping a watchful eye on her extraordinary passenger. As the shuttle lifted off from the moon's surface, carrying them back to Outpost Zeta 9, she felt a sense of profound anticipation. This was just the beginning of an incredible journey, for her, for the alien, and perhaps for all of humanity. The stars seemed to shine more brightly as they ascended, welcoming them into a new era of interstellar friendship and discovery. Elara smiled, her heart full of hope and wonder. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them, armed with the universal language of compassion and the indomitable spirit of human ingenuity. As the shuttle docked with Outpost Zeta 9, Dr. Elara Chen felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. The adrenaline from her extraordinary first contact was wearing off, replaced by the sobering reality of the challenges ahead. She glanced at her alien patient, still stable but in need of continued care. The real work was just beginning. "Welcome back, Dr. Chen," the station's AI greeted as Elara maneuvered the alien through the airlock. "I detect an unidentified life form, initiating quarantine protocols." "Belay that," Elara commanded. "This is a medical emergency. Prep the med bay for xenobiology." The AI hesitated, its programming conflicting with the unprecedented situation. "Doctor, standard procedures dictate." "Override standard procedures," Elara interrupted. "Authorization Chen Alpha 93. This is uncharted territory." As they made their way to the medical bay, Elara's mind raced. She had basic xenobiology training, but nothing could have prepared her for this. The alien's bioluminescent physiology defied conventional medical wisdom. She would need to rewrite the book on interstellar medicine, and fast. The med bay doors hissed open, revealing a state-of-the-art facility that suddenly seemed woefully inadequate. Elara gently guided the alien onto the main biobed, its lanky form barely fitting the human-sized surface. "All right," she muttered, more to herself than her patient. "Let's figure you out." Elara activated the bay's advanced diagnostic array, a symphony of holographic displays springing to life around them. Data streams flickered across the screens, the computer struggling to categorize the alien's unique biology. "Computer, begin adaptive analysis," Elara ordered. "Cross-reference with all known xenobiology theories and extrapolate based on observed bioluminescent properties." As the AI churned through calculations, Elara focused on her patient. The alien's glow had dimmed again, its patterns sluggish and erratic. She placed a hand gently on what she assumed was its shoulder, feeling a faint vibration beneath her touch. "Hang in there," she murmured. "We're going to figure this out." A soft chime drew her attention to the main display. The computer had compiled its initial analysis, and Elara's eyes widened as she absorbed the information. The alien's cellular structure was unlike anything in Earth's biological records. Its cells seemed to communicate through pulses of bioluminescence, creating a complex network that regulated all bodily functions. "Fascinating," Elara breathed. "It's like a living fiber optic system." But the marvel of discovery was tempered by urgency. The analysis showed severe disruptions in the alien's bioluminescent network, particularly around the areas of physical trauma. Elara realized that treating the surface wounds wouldn't be enough. She needed to restore the flow of light within the alien's body. An idea struck her, born of desperate creativity. "Computer, reconfigure the tissue regenerator for photonic stimulation. We're going to try something unprecedented." As the machine hummed to life, Elara took a deep breath. What she was about to attempt had never been done before. It was a shot in the dark, guided only by intuition and the universal principles of healing. She activated the modified regenerator, bathing the alien in a soft, pulsing light. At first, nothing happened. Then, almost imperceptibly, the alien's own bioluminescence began to synchronize with the device's rhythm. Elara leaned in, her heart pounding. "That's it," she whispered encouragingly. "Work with me here." Hours passed in a blur of intense concentration. Elara fine-tuned the regenerator's output, guided by the alien's responses. She worked tirelessly, adjusting frequencies and intensities, her fingers dancing across the controls with the precision of a concert pianist. As the treatment progressed, Elara noticed something extraordinary. The alien's wounds were healing at an accelerated rate, its bioluminescent patterns growing stronger and more coherent. But more than that, she felt a strange connection forming between them. Each pulse of light seemed to resonate not just with the alien's body, but with something deeper, a cosmic rhythm that transcended species. Halfway through the procedure, the alien stirred. Its limbs moved with newfound strength, and its head turned towards Elara. Though it had no eyes that she could discern, she felt the weight of its attention. Slowly, deliberately, the alien extended one of its limbs towards the regenerator's control panel. Elara's breath caught in her throat. Was it trying to communicate? "Do you want to adjust it?" she asked, hardly daring to believe. The alien's limb hovered over the controls, then made a series of precise movements. The regenerator's output shifted, its light taking on a new pattern that harmonized perfectly with the alien's own glow. Elara watched in awe as the healing process accelerated even further. The alien wasn't just a passive patient, it was actively participating in its own treatment, guiding her in ways her human knowledge couldn't comprehend. "Incredible," she breathed. "You're teaching me even as I'm healing you." As they worked together, Elara felt a profound sense of connection. This wasn't just a medical procedure, it was a duet of healing, a bridge across the vast gulf of interstellar difference. Human and alien, working in harmony to mend what was broken. The hours blurred into days as Elara and her alien patient continued their revolutionary healing process. Sleep became a luxury, snatched in brief moments between treatments. Elara subsisted on stimulants and sheer determination, pushing the boundaries of her endurance. On the third day, as Elara was recalibrating the regenerator, she noticed something that made her heart skip a beat. The alien's wounds, which had been slowly closing, were now regenerating at an astonishing rate. New tissue formed before her eyes, glowing with vibrant bioluminescence. "Computer, analyze cellular regeneration rate," she commanded, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. The AI's response was immediate. Cellular regeneration exceeding all known parameters. Estimated full recovery time, 6 hours. Elara sagged against the biobed, a mixture of relief and amazement washing over her. They had done it. Against all odds, human ingenuity and alien biology had combined to achieve the impossible. As the final hours of treatment ticked by, Elara found herself reflecting on the magnitude of what had transpired. She had not only saved an alien life, but had pioneered an entirely new field of medicine. The implications were staggering. Finally, the regenerator powered down, its work complete. Elara held her breath as she ran a final diagnostic scan. The results brought tears to her eyes. The alien was fully healed, its bioluminescent patterns pulsing with vibrant health. "We did it," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "You're going to be okay." The alien rose from the biobed, its movements fluid and graceful. It towered over Elara, its lanky form stretching to its full height. For a moment, they simply regarded each other, human and alien, forever changed by their shared experience. Then, with deliberate slowness, the alien extended its limbs, enveloping Elara in what she could only describe as an embrace. The gesture was awkward, the alien clearly mimicking human behavior it had observed, but the intent was unmistakable. As they touched, Ilara felt that now familiar tingle of alien consciousness brushing against her mind. But this time, the connection was stronger, clearer. Images and emotions flooded her awareness: gratitude, wonder, and a burning curiosity that mirrored her own. In that moment of connection, Ilara understood that their journey was far from over. The healing was just the beginning. They had opened a door to a new era of interstellar cooperation and discovery. As the alien released her, Ilara squared her shoulders, her exhaustion forgotten in the face of new possibilities. "Well," she said, a smile tugging at her lips, "I suppose proper introductions are in order. I'm Dr. Ilara Chen of Earth. Welcome to Outpost Zeta 9. The alien's bioluminescent patterns shifted in response, forming complex geometries that Ilara somehow knew were its own form of greeting. The patterns coalesced into a shimmering hologram hovering between them, a star map showing the alien's home system. Ilara's eyes widened as she recognized the configuration. "You're from the Lyra constellation," she breathed. "Incredible." The hologram zoomed in, focusing on a single planet orbiting a binary star system. Ilara watched in fascination as images of the alien's homeworld flashed before her, a place of crystal spires and bioluminescent forests, of technology so advanced it seemed like magic. "Your world is beautiful," Ilara said softly. "Thank you for sharing it with me." The alien's response was a cascade of light and emotion, conveying concepts that transcended language. Ilara understood that she was being offered something unprecedented, an invitation to learn, to explore, to bridge the gap between their species. As the connection faded, Ilara found herself filled with a sense of purpose stronger than anything she had ever known. She had set out to push the boundaries of human knowledge, but now those boundaries had been blown wide open. "Computer," she said, her voice steady with resolve, "prepare a priority transmission to Earth. We've made first contact, and we have a lot of work to do." The AI acknowledged the command, but Ilara barely heard it. Her mind was already racing with the possibilities ahead. There would be challenges, of course, cultural misunderstandings to navigate, biological mysteries to unravel, and the monumental task of facilitating communication between two radically different species. But as she looked at her alien patient, no, her alien friend, Ilara knew that they had already overcome the greatest obstacle. They had reached across the stars and found common ground in the most fundamental of acts: the desire to heal, to learn, and to connect. As the transmission to Earth began, Ilara felt the weight of history on her shoulders. She was about to change the course of human civilization, to open the door to a universe wider and more wondrous than anyone had imagined. The alien moved to stand beside her, its presence a comforting reminder that she was not alone in this journey. Together, they faced the screen, ready to usher in a new age of interstellar cooperation. Ilara took a deep breath, composing herself for the momentous announcement she was about to make. "Attention of control," she began, her voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. "This is Dr. Ilara Chen at Outpost Zeta 9. Prepare for transmission of utmost importance. We are not alone." As the message beamed across the vast expanse of space, Ilara felt a profound sense of optimism. The universe had just become infinitely larger, and humanity's place in it had forever changed. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, human and alien, united by the universal language of healing and discovery. The stars seemed to shine brighter as Ilara and her alien companion stood side by side, their silhouettes framed against the backdrop of space. It was more than just a moment of first contact, it was the dawn of a new era, one where the boundaries of possibilities stretched as far as the cosmos itself. As the transmission concluded, Ilara turned to her alien friend, a smile playing on her lips. "Well," she said, "I believe we have a lot of work to do. Shall we begin?" The alien's response was a dazzling display of bioluminescence, a symphony of light that Ilara somehow knew meant yes. Together, they stepped forward into an uncertain but thrilling future, ready to write the next chapter in the grand story of cosmic exploration. The news of first contact spread across Earth like wildfire, igniting a global frenzy of excitement, fear, and speculation. Dr. Elara Chen found herself at the center of a storm, her face plastered across every newsfeed and holoprojection from New Shanghai to Neo New York. But on Outpost Zeta 9, far from the chaos of Earth, a different kind of revolution was unfolding. Elara stood before a holographic display, her alien companion, whom she had taken to calling Lux for its luminous nature, by her side. They were attempting to create a universal translation matrix, a task that pushed the boundaries of linguistics, mathematics, and quantum computing. "Okay, let's try this again," Elara said, her voice tinged with determination. She input a series of complex equations into the system, each one representing a different aspect of human language and thought. Lux responded with a mesmerizing dance of light patterns, its bioluminescent body pulsing with information. The outpost's AI struggled to keep up, translating the alien's light language into mathematical formulae. Suddenly, the holographic display erupted in a dazzling array of interconnected symbols, a visual representation of the newly formed linguistic bridge between human and alien minds. "We did it," Elara exclaimed, her exhaustion forgotten in the thrill of breakthrough. "Computer, run a translation test." The A's voice filled the room, translation matrix stable, initiating test sequence. Elara turned to Lux, her heart pounding with anticipation. "Can you understand me?" she asked, her words automatically converted into pulses of light. Lux's body shimmered, and for the first time, words in Elara's own language emanated from the alien's luminous form. Comprehension achieved, Dr. Elara Chen. A monumental step for both our species. Tears welled in Elara's eyes as the full impact of the moment hit her. They had shattered the language barrier, opening up a universe of possibilities for interstellar communication and cooperation. But their celebration was short-lived. An urgent transmission from Earth Command cut through their moment of triumph. "Dr. Chen," the stern voice of Admiral Zhao filled the room. "We've detected multiple unidentified objects entering the solar system. They're on a direct course for your location, ETA 48 hours. Elara's blood ran cold. She glanced at Lux, whose light patterns had shifted to a more subdued, serious tone. "Admiral, are they?" "We don't know," Zhao interrupted. "But given recent events, we have to assume they're connected to your guest. We need answers, Doctor. Fast." As the transmission ended, Elara turned to Lux, her mind racing. "Do you know anything about this?" Lux's lights pulsed rapidly, the translation matrix working overtime to keep up. I fear they may be the Void Hunters, my people's greatest enemy. They must have tracked my vessel's energy signature." "Void Hunters," Elara repeated, a chill running down her spine. "Who are they? What do they want?" Lux's form seemed to dim slightly, as if the very memory of these beings caused it pain. "They are consumers of light, Dr. Chen. They seek to extinguish all bioluminescent life in the galaxy. My people have been at war with them for millennia." Elara's mind reeled at the implications. Humanity had barely taken its first steps into interstellar society, and already they were being drawn into an ancient cosmic conflict. But as the initial shock wore off, a steely determination took its place. "Well," she said, squaring her shoulders, "I suppose it's time for some crash course cosmic diplomacy." Over the next 48 hours, Outpost Zeta 9 became a hub of feverish activity. Elara worked tirelessly with Lux, piecing together a crash course in galactic politics and history. They transmitted everything they could to Earth: schematics for advanced defensive systems, strategies for countering the Void Hunters' technology, and most crucially, a plea for unity in the face of this unprecedented threat. As the deadline approached, Elara found herself standing before a hastily assembled panel of Earth's most powerful leaders, her image projected via quantum entanglement to every major government chamber on the planet. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment, "we stand at a crossroads. In less than an hour, we will face a threat unlike any humanity has ever known, but we do not face it alone. She gestured to Lux, who stepped forward, its bioluminescent form a stark contrast to the suited politicians. This is not just a fight for Earth, Ilara continued. This is a fight for the very concept of life as we know it. The Void Hunters seek to extinguish the light of consciousness itself. We cannot, we will not, let that happen. A murmur ran through the assembled leaders. Ilara could see the fear in their eyes, but also a growing resolve. She pressed on, her words carrying the weight of two species' hopes. I propose a united front, a coalition of Earth and the Luminae, Lux's people. Together, we can turn back this tide of darkness, but we must act now, and we must act as one. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, one by one, the leaders began to nod. Agreements were made, resources pledged, and in a historic moment of global unity, Earth prepared for its first interstellar conflict. As the transmission ended, Ilara sagged against the console, the adrenaline leaving her in a rush. Lux placed a comforting limb on her shoulder, its touch conveying support and gratitude. You have done more for my people than I could have ever hoped, Lux said, its words tinged with emotion. Whatever comes next, know that you have forged a bond between our species that can never be broken. Ilara managed a tired smile. Let's just hope it's enough. The next hour passed in a blur of preparations. Earth's most advanced ships, hastily retrofitted with Luminae technology, took up defensive positions around the planet. On Outpost Zeta 9, Ilara and Lux worked feverishly to boost the station's defenses, knowing they would be the first line of contact. As the countdown reached 0, a chill swept through the outpost. The void of space seemed to ripple, and then they appeared, massive, obsidian structures that seemed to devour the very starlight around them. The Void Hunters had arrived. By the cosmic core, Lux whispered, its light dimming in fear. They've brought a nullifier. Ilara squinted at the central ship, a behemoth that dwarfed even the largest Earth vessels. What does that mean? It means, Lux said grimly, that they can create a zone of absolute darkness. No light, no energy, no life. Ilara's mind raced, processing the implications. Then, an idea struck her, crazy, desperate, but possibly their only hope. Lux, she said urgently, your people communicate through light, right? Is there any way to overload that system? To create a pulse so bright it could disrupt their technology? Lux's patterns shifted rapidly, considering. It's possible, but, Dr. Chen, the amount of energy required would be catastrophic. It would likely destroy this outpost, and the backlash could severely damage or kill any Luminae in range. Ilara nodded grimly. But it could stop the nullifier. In theory, yes. Then we have to try. Ilara's fingers flew over the console, rerouting power and reprogramming systems. We'll use the outpost reactor as a catalyst. Lux, I need you to channel every ounce of bioluminescent energy you can muster. As they worked, the space around the outpost erupted into chaos. Earth ships clashed with the Void Hunters, exchanging salvos of energy weapons and gravity torpedoes. The nullifier loomed ever closer, its presence like a creeping shadow threatening to engulf everything. Ready, Ilara announced, her hand hovering over the final activation switch. She turned to Lux, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. Lux, I don't know if we'll survive this. Lux's form pulsed with a warm, comforting glow. Dr. Ilara Chen, you have shown me the very best of humanity. It has been an honor to fight alongside you. Ilara nodded, blinking back tears. Together, then? Together. As one, I activated the makeshift weapon. The outpost reactor went critical, channeling its power into Lux's bioluminescent form. Ilara watched in awe as her alien friend began to glow brighter than she had ever seen, its light growing until it was painful to look at. Just as the nullifier began to power up its darkness field, Lux released the built-up energy in a single blinding pulse. The wave of pure light expanded outward at impossible speed, washing over the Void Hunter fleet. Ilara's world went white, then black. She felt the outpost shake violently, systems overloading and shutting down. The last thing she heard before losing consciousness was the sound of tearing metal and Lux's otherworldly cry. When Ilara came to, she found herself floating in the debris field that had once been Outpost Zeta 9. Her spacesuit's emergency systems had activated, keeping her alive but with limited power. As her vision cleared, she gasped at the sight before her. The Void Hunter fleet was in chaos. The nullifier drifted powerless, its systems fried by the massive energy pulse. Earth ships were moving in, mopping up the remaining resistance. But Ilara had eyes only for one thing, a faint, pulsing light amidst the wreckage. With the last of her suit's propulsion, she made her way towards it. There, barely glowing, was Lux. The alien's form was diminished, its once brilliant light now a feeble flicker. But it was alive. As Ilara reached out to her friend, a burst of static in her comm preceded a welcome voice. "Dr. Chen, thank God you're alive. Rescue ships are en route to your position." Ilara barely registered the words, her focus entirely on Lux. As she cradled the alien's weakened form, she felt a familiar tingle, the touch of Lux's consciousness against her own. In that moment of connection, Ilara saw flashes of a possible future, Earth and Lumine working together to rebuild, to explore, to push back the darkness that threatened the galaxy. She saw new technologies, new forms of art and culture born from the merging of their two species. And at the heart of it all, she saw hope. A brilliant, enduring light that no force in the universe could extinguish. As the rescue ships approached, Ilara held Lux close, her voice soft but filled with conviction. "We did it, my friend. This is just the beginning." Lux's light pulsed weakly in response, but Ilara could feel the aliens' agreement. They had faced the darkness together and emerged victorious. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them the same way, united by a bond that transcended species, forged in the crucible of cosmic conflict. As the rescue ship's tractor beam enveloped them, Ilara looked out at the star-strewn expanse of space. The universe suddenly seemed fuller, richer with possibility. Humanity had taken its first steps onto a much larger stage, and she knew that nothing would ever be the same. The journey ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but as Ilara held her alien friend close, she felt a profound sense of hope. Together, they had written the first chapter of a new cosmic saga, one of unity, discovery, and the indomitable spirit of life itself. As the rescue ship's airlock closed behind them, Ilara allowed herself a small smile. The adventure was just beginning. 5 years after the Battle of Zeta 9, Earth had undergone a transformation that would have seemed impossible just a decade earlier. The planet was now the nexus of a burgeoning interstellar alliance, with Lumine technology seamlessly integrated into every aspect of human society. Dr. Ilara Chen, once a lone researcher on a distant outpost, had become the face of this new era of cosmic cooperation. Today, she stood on the observation deck of the Harmonium, Earth's first true starship. Its sleek design was a fusion of human ingenuity and Lumine bioluminescent technology, a shimmering beacon of hope against the vast canvas of space. "Quite a view, isn't it?" A familiar voice chimed in her mind. Ilara turned to see Lux, her Lumine friend and partner, pulsing with a soft, contented glow. "It never gets old," Ilara agreed, her eyes tracing the swirling nebula before them. The Harmonium was on a mission to establish the first human Lumine colony beyond the solar system, a testament to how far they'd come. But their journey was far from over. The threat of the Void Hunters still loomed, a shadow at the edges of known space. And there were other challenges. Political tensions back on Earth, the delicate balance of integrating two vastly different species, and the ever-present unknown of deep space exploration. As if on cue, the ship's AI interrupted their moment of reflection. Dr. Chen, Ambassador Lux, your presence is requested in the Nexus chamber. We've received a transmission from the Galactic Council. Ilara and Lux exchanged glances. The Galactic Council, a coalition of advanced spacefaring races that had revealed themselves in the wake of the Void Hunter attack, had been both a source of support and scrutiny for Earth's fledgling interstellar efforts. Well, Ilara sighed, straightening her uniform, duty calls. They made their way through the Harmonium's bioluminescent corridors, the ship's living walls pulsing with information and energy. Crew members, both human and Lumine, nodded respectfully as they passed. The sight of the duo no longer turned heads. They had become symbols of the new cosmic order. The Nexus chamber was a marvel of hybrid technology. At its center stood a holographic projection matrix surrounded by bioorganic interfaces that allowed for seamless communication across vast distances of space. As they entered, the chamber hummed to life. The air shimmered, and suddenly they were standing in the midst of the Galactic Council, or at least their holographic representations. The council members were a diverse array of beings. There was Zixtara, a crystalline entity that communicated through harmonic resonances; Ethlorn, a gaseous collective intelligence that shifted and swirled as it spoke; and Kel-7, a cybernetic hive mind representing a race of machine-organic hybrids. But it was the newest member of the council that drew Ilara's attention, Nexus Prime, the first AI to be granted full sentience and rights under galactic law. Its avatar was a constantly shifting geometric pattern, beautiful and unnervingly alien. Dr. Chen, Ambassador Lux, Zixtara's crystals chimed in greeting. We've called this session to discuss a matter of grave importance. Ethlorn's gaseous form rippled with concern. Our long-range sensors have detected a massive disturbance in the fabric of spacetime. We believe the Void Hunters have acquired technology capable of creating artificial black holes. Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. Artificial black holes. But that would mean the power to reshape reality itself. Nexus Prime finished, its voice a symphony of digital tones, or to unmake it entirely. Lux's bioluminescence dimmed with worry. Such power in the hands of those who seek only destruction, it's unthinkable. Kel-7's mechanical eyes wared as they focused on Ilara and Lux. This is why we've come to you. The Harmonium Project represents the best of what can be achieved when different species work together. We believe this cooperative spirit may be our best hope against the Void Hunters. Ilara's mind raced with the implications. What exactly are you proposing? Zixtara's crystals realigned, projecting a complex star chart. We want you to lead a mission into uncharted space. Our intelligence suggests the Void Hunter's new weapon is being constructed here, in a region known as the Obsidian Depths. It's a suicide mission, Ethlorn swirled anxiously. The Obsidian Depths are riddled with spatial anomalies and gravitational distortions. No ship has ever returned from there. No ship like the Harmonium has ever tried, Nexus Prime countered. Its hybrid systems might be able to withstand the extreme conditions. Ilara and Lux shared a look of understanding. They had faced impossible odds before, and the stakes had never been higher. We'll do it, Ilara said firmly. But we'll need resources and full autonomy to handle the mission as we see fit. The council members conferred silently for a moment before Kel-7 spoke. Granted, the fate of the galaxy may rest in your hands. Go with our blessings and the hopes of countless civilizations. As the holographic projections faded, Ilara let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Well, Lux, it looks like we're in for another adventure. Lux pulsed with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Indeed, my friend, but I can think of no one I'd rather face the unknown with. Over the next few weeks, the Harmonium became a hive of activity. The ship's systems were upgraded, its hull reinforced with experimental materials designed to withstand extreme gravitational forces. The crew, already the best and brightest from a dozen worlds, underwent intensive training for the challenges ahead. Ilara found herself at the center of it all, coordinating with scientists, strategists, and diplomats from across the galaxy. But in quiet moments, doubt crept in. The weight of their mission pressed down on her, the fate of entire civilizations resting on their success. It was during one such moment of introspection that she felt Lux's comforting presence beside her. "You're troubled," the Luminae observed, its light patterns shifting in concern. Ilara sighed, running a hand through her hair. "How can I not be? We're about to venture into the most dangerous region of space known to any civilization, chasing a weapon that could unmake reality. The responsibility, it's overwhelming." Lux's form shimmered thoughtfully. "Do you remember when we first met? When you found me, broken and alone, on that desolate moon?" Ilara nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips despite her worry. "How could I forget? You scared the life out of me. And yet you chose to help, despite the risk, despite the unknown. That choice set in motion everything that followed, the alliance between our peoples, the defeat of the Void Hunters at Zeta 9, and now this mission to save the galaxy." Lux's light grew brighter, enveloping Ilara in a warm, comforting glow. "You've always had the courage to face the unknown, Ilara. It's who you are, and it's why you're the right person to lead us into the obsidian depths." Ilara felt her doubts recede, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. She reached out, her hand passing through Lux's luminous form in a gesture of affection they had developed over the years. "What will I do without you, old friend?" "Let us hope you never have to find out," Lux replied, a hint of humor in its melodic tones. The day of departure arrived with little fanfare. The nature of their mission was too sensitive for public announcements or grand ceremonies. Instead, the Harmonium slipped away from Earth's orbit under the cover of a routine patrol. As they reached the edge of charted space, Ilara addressed the crew from the bridge. Humans, Luminae, and representatives from a dozen other species looked to her with a mixture of anticipation and nervous energy. "We stand at the threshold of the unknown," she began, her voice steady and clear. "Beyond this point, we face challenges no one has ever encountered, but we do not face them alone. Look around you, see the diversity, the unity, the shared purpose that brings us together." She gestured to the view screen, where the swirling chaos of the obsidian depths loomed. "Out there lies a threat that would extinguish all we hold dear. But in here," she placed a hand over her heart, "in each of us burns a light that cannot be dimmed. It is the light of hope, of determination, of the unyielding will to protect life in all its forms." Lux moved to stand beside her, its bioluminescence pulsing in harmony with her words. "Together we are more than just a crew. We are the embodiment of cosmic cooperation, the living proof that differences can become strengths when united for a common cause." Ilara nodded, feeling the energy in the room shift, fear giving way to resolve. "Whatever awaits us in the obsidian depths, know this, we face it as one. For Earth, for Lumina Prime, for every world that looks to the stars with wonder instead of fear, for the future of all life in this vast, beautiful universe." A cheer went up from the crew, a cacophony of human voices, Luminae light patterns, and various alien vocalizations blending into a symphony of determination. With a deep breath, Ilara gave the command they had all been waiting for. "Helm, take us in." The Harmonium's engines hummed to life, its hybrid systems pulsing with power. As they crossed the boundary into uncharted space, the familiar starfield gave way to a maelstrom of swirling energies and spatial distortions. Ilara felt the ship shudder beneath her feet, but the advanced stabilization systems held. On the view screen, reality itself seemed to twist and warp around them. It was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. "Sensors are going haywire," the science officer reported, her fingers dancing over the bioluminescent controls. "Gravitational fields are fluctuating wildly. It's like the laws of physics are breaking down." Lux's form rippled with concentration as it interfaced directly with the ship's systems. "The Harmonium is holding, but these conditions are unlike anything we've encountered. We need to proceed with extreme caution. For hours, they navigated the treacherous currents of the obsidian depths. The crew worked tirelessly, making constant adjustments to keep the ship stable in the face of reality-bending forces. More than once, they narrowly avoided being torn apart by sudden gravitational spikes or pockets of inverse space. Just as exhaustion began to set in, a cry went up from the sensor station. Contact. Massive energy signature dead ahead. The view screen shifted, revealing a sight that took Elara's breath away. Suspended in the chaotic void was a structure of impossible scale, a vast obsidian sphere that seemed to devour light itself. Around it orbited smaller constructs, each one larger than the harmonium. By the cosmic core, Lux whispered, its light dimming in awe and fear. It's the nullifier prime, the weapon that could end everything. Elara's mind raced, taking in the enormity of what they faced. The Void Hunters had created something that defied comprehension, a tool of destruction beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. But as she looked around at her crew, human, Luminae, and a dozen other species all working in perfect harmony, she felt a surge of hope. They had come this far against impossible odds. They would find a way to stop this threat, to preserve the light of life against the encroaching darkness. Battle stations, Elara commanded, her voice ringing with determination. Let's show the Void Hunters what happens when the galaxy stands united. As the Harmonium moved into position, its weapons charging and shields at maximum, Elara knew that the real battle was just beginning. Whatever the outcome, this would be a day that echoed across the cosmos, the day when life itself made its stand against the forces of oblivion. The fate of reality hung in the balance, and at the center of it all stood a human and a Luminae, their unlikely friendship a beacon of hope in the darkest reaches of space. The harmonium hung in the void, a mote of light against the overwhelming darkness of the nullifier prime. Elara's voice cut through the tense silence on the bridge. Tactical analysis now. The ship's AI, a quantum-entangled consciousness named Synapse, responded instantly. Its holographic avatar, a swirling nebula of data points, materialized beside Elara. The nullifier prime is unlike anything in our databases, Synapse reported, its voice a harmonious blend of tones. It appears to be generating microsingularities at an alarming rate. Our conventional weapons will be ineffective. Lux's bioluminescence pulsed with urgency. We need to act fast. Those singularities, they're not just weapons. They're unmaking reality itself. As if to emphasize the point, a nearby star winked out of existence, consumed by an expanding void of nothingness. The crew watched in horror as the fabric of space-time itself began to fray around the edges of the nullifier prime. Elara's mind raced. Conventional tactics were useless here. They needed something unprecedented, something that combined the best of what every species on board had to offer. Synapse, she said, an idea forming. What if we reversed the polarity of our warp drive and channeled it through Lux's bioluminescent matrix? The A's avatar swirled faster as it ran calculations. Fascinating. Theoretically, it could create a cascading wave of anti-entropic energy. But the power requirements would be enormous, Lux finished. It would require every ounce of energy we have, including my own life force. A hush fell over the bridge. Elara felt her heart constrict at the implication. Lux, no, there has to be another way. The Luminae's form shimmered with a soft, resigned glow. My friend, from the moment you saved me on that distant moon, my life has been dedicated to preserving the light of consciousness in this universe. If my sacrifice can stop this abomination, then it is a price I gladly pay. Tears welled in Elara's eyes, but she knew there was no time for debate. Every second they hesitated, more of reality slipped away into oblivion. Crew of the Harmonium, she addressed them, her voice steady despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm her. We stand at the precipice of eternity. What we do here, in this moment, will echo across the cosmos for eons to come. I won't order anyone to sacrifice themselves, but I ask you now, Who will stand with us against the dark? For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then, one by one, voices rang out, human, lumine, and a chorus of alien tongues, all united in purpose. To the last breath. For the light of all worlds. We are one against the void. Hilara nodded, a fierce pride swelling in her chest. Synapse, begin the preparations. Divert all power to the warp drive. Lux, are you ready? The Lumine's form pulsed with a brilliance that outshone the stars themselves. I have never been more ready, my friend. It has been an honor to share this journey with you. As the crew scrambled to their stations, Ilara and Lux made their way to the heart of the ship, the quantum core where the laws of physics themselves could be bent and reshaped. The harmonium shuddered as the first waves of gravitational distortion from the nullifier prime washed over them. On the bridge, the tactical officer's voice crackled over the comm. Multiple bogies incoming. Void Hunter strike craft on an intercept course. Ilara's voice was calm as she responded. Evasive maneuvers. Buy us as much time as you can. In the quantum core, Ilara worked feverishly to integrate Lux's bioluminescent essence with the ship's systems. The air crackled with energy, reality itself seeming to warp around them. Lux, Ilara said softly, her hands pausing for a moment. I don't know how to say goodbye. The Lumine's light pulsed warmly. Then don't, Ilara. For in the grand tapestry of the cosmos, there are no true endings, only new beginnings. With those words, Lux's form began to dissolve, its consciousness merging with the ship's systems. The quantum core blazed with an otherworldly light, brighter than 1,000 suns. On the bridge, alarms blared as the Void Hunter craft closed in. The helmsman's voice was strained. We can't hold them off much longer. We don't have to. Ilara's voice rang out, filled with a strange mix of sorrow and triumph. Synapse, initiate the pulse, now. The harmonium's warp drive engaged, but instead of propelling them through space, it channeled an impossible amount of energy directly into Lux's bioluminescent matrix. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself screamed. A wave of pure, undiluted creation burst forth from the harmonium. It swept across the battlefield, engulfing Void Hunter and Nullifier alike. Where it touched, the unmaking of reality reversed. Stars reignited, planets reformed, and the very fabric of space-time knitted itself back together. The Nullifier Prime, that abomination of anti-life, shuddered as the wave hit it. For a moment, it seemed to resist, its dark power straining against the tide of creation. But in the end, even it could not withstand the combined will of so many united species. With a silent explosion that shook the foundations of reality, the Nullifier Prime collapsed in on itself, taking the remnants of the Void Hunter fleet with it. In the aftermath, the harmonium drifted, its systems drained, and its crew stunned by what they had witnessed. Ilara stood in the quantum core, her hand resting on the now-silent machinery, where Lux had made its final stand. We did it, old friend, she whispered, a tear sliding down her cheek. We really did it. As if in response, a faint shimmer of light danced across the core's surface. For a moment, Ilara could have sworn she saw Lux's familiar patterns in the glow, but it faded too quickly to be sure. The journey back to known space was a somber one. The crew of the Harmonium had won an impossible victory, but the cost had been high. As they approached the border of charted territory, however, they received a transmission that changed everything. Harmonium, this is Galactic Central. A familiar voice crackled over the comm. It was Zix Tower of the Galactic Council. We've been monitoring the situation as best we could. What you've accomplished, it's beyond our wildest hopes. But there's something else you need to see. As they crossed back into normal space, the view screen lit up with a sight that took Ilara's breath away. Thousands of ships from hundreds of different species filled the starfield before them, and at the center of it all, a swirling nebula of pure light that pulsed with a hauntingly familiar rhythm. We don't fully understand it, Zixtara continued, but when your pulse wave hit, it didn't just stop the nullifier. It awakened something. The nebula appeared moments after your victory, and Ilara, it's asking for you. With trembling hands, Ilara opened a channel to the mysterious nebula. As soon as the connection was established, a flood of emotion and imagery washed over her. She gasped, tears flowing freely now. "Lux," she whispered, hardly daring to believe. The response came not in words, but in pure sensation. Joy, love, and a sense of rebirth flooded Ilara's consciousness. Lux hadn't been destroyed, it had been transformed, elevated to a new plane of existence. Through their connection, Ilara saw glimpses of a universe far grander and more wondrous than she had ever imagined. She understood, in that moment, that their victory had been more than just the defeat of the Void Hunters. It was the dawn of a new era for all life in the cosmos. As the connection faded, Ilara turned to address her crew, her eyes shining with a light that seemed to come from within. "My friends," she said, her voice carrying the weight of all they had experienced, "we set out to save reality. But in doing so, we've given birth to something far greater. A new understanding of what it means to be alive, to be conscious in this vast and beautiful universe." She gestured to the nebula that had once been Lux, and to the assembled fleet of allies that had come to welcome them home. "This is not an ending, it's a beginning. The start of a grand adventure that will span millennia and touch the lives of countless beings across the cosmos. And we," she smiled, feeling the truth of her words in her very soul, "we get to be there at the start of it all." As the Harmonium moved to join the assembled fleet, Ilara felt a sense of purpose and wonder unlike anything she had ever known. The universe had been saved, yes, but more than that, it had been transformed. And in that transformation lay the promise of endless discovery, of bridges built between species and realities, of a future brighter than any star. The crew of the Harmonium had set out to be defenders of life. They returned as pioneers of a new cosmic age, an age of light, of unity, and of infinite possibility. As they took their place among the fleet, ready to embark on the next phase of their journey, Ilara smiled. Somewhere out there, in the swirling nebula of consciousness that had once been her closest friend, she knew Lux was smiling too. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning.